welcome to a very special cover story conversation with Suhel Seth. He's one of our favorite guests on the show, and we're going to be talking to him about, well, almost everything that's of importance right now. But Suhel, first, the headlines really, already what is doing the buzz in the Delhi circles is the inauguration of the new parliament building and the opposition boycott of it. What is your first reaction on this?
I think it is silly. It is strategically unwise on the part of the opposition. What's happening is their visceral hatred for Modi, wittingly or unwittingly, is seen and translates itself into their hatred for everything that is uniquely Indian. If you remember, Priya, the same opposition had two or three people from within it. When the president took over and she, attained office, people said Rashtra Patni, then other comments were passed. We've had a history in this country where the president is actually seen as a rubber stamp. So, to expect the president to be there. Plus, remember, this is historical. Now, you tell me, Priya, 50 years hence, when children see videos and see recordings of this, they're not going to see recordings of the protesters. They're going to see recordings of people who made things happen. This is a time for the opposition to walk into parliament wearing a black badge saying, "Where's my president?" That would have had an impact. Modi would not have been able to stop you as a member of parliament if you walked into parliament that morning, attended the function, but you had a black badge said, "Where's my president?" You didn't say that. What are you doing? You're following the same template. Whenever the prime minister does something, you oppose. And the prime minister, see, Narendra Modi is way brighter than all these guys put together. They say someone is Chanakya, someone is this. He's way brighter. What has he now done? He says, "Theek hai, Rashtra should always be above Rajniti." These are the same people who said, "Chaukidar chor hai." He says, "But, main hu chaukidar." His ability to spin adversity into opportunity is legendary. A, they should have known that. B, the country is fed up of every day waking up to abuse and disabuse. The prime minister goes abroad, you abuse him. Actually, you're not abusing Narendra Modi. You are abusing the office of the Prime Minister of India, who, by the way, has been elected by the people of India. He, Priya, hasn't, sneaked in through the back door. He's an elected representative of the people, much like the protesters are. Now, to say that, "Oh, why have you not invited the president?" It is demeaning. We all know that the president's speech, when she convenes the Houses of Parliament, is written by the government. Then do you say that why is the president speaking what the prime minister's government has written? Then you don't. It's an established norm. What do? They dug out Jharkhand and they dug out Chhattisgarh. And they said, "Par aap to wahan bhi koi nahi tha." The governor was not invited. Mrs. Gandhi, who held no constitutional post, was the one who inaugurated. We must stop being trivial, because we've got to understand that when you protest in this manner, your protest is seen as a symbol of negativity. It is not seen as a symbol of logic or hope. And people don't want negativity in everything. And now what will we do? He's too sharp for these guys. He will salute the Shramjeevis, the people who made that happen. Now, when you're saluting those Shramjeevis, wouldn't you want to be part of that? They made the same mistake earlier. If you remember, when the Central Vista project was going on, there were cases after cases lodged. People were abusing. When Prime Minister inaugurated it, the first people he met were the Shramjeevis. How can you now negate that? So my point is that protest with logic, protest with purpose, and protest where it can be aligned with your intent of protest. But to protest for protest's sake reminds me of Shakespeare, where he said, "The lady doth protest too much." And you don't need to protest all the time.
Fair enough. But Suhel, your first comments where you said president is more or less a rubber stamp, and that's a stated fact. That's a kind of understood fact. The address is written by the government of the day, and she just reads it out. But the rubber stamp is part of the ceremony. It's part of the ceremonial process. Kharge's tweet where he said that they've just got a tribal president for tokenism. They made a big deal of it, but when it counts, she's missing from action. Something to that effect. That tweet has gone viral. It has hit at some places where it should. In terms of that. So
Let me tell
hasn't the
you who it
government
is.
slipped a bit?
No, let me tell you who it has hit. It has hit the 1.28 or maybe now 2 million people who are on Twitter in an echo chamber. It has hit journalists who want to, also, and rightly so, create a fissure of their intent. Who it has also hit is it has tried to. You tell me, when was the last time you heard an opposition being united on something negative? Today, the unity of the opposition is based on the fact that, yes, we should all protest together. But again, as I said many times on your program, this country does not have a united opposition. It's a pretentiously united opposition. Now you've got people who walked out. YSR will be there. Naveen Patnaik will be there. My advice to these Johnnies would be, look at the idiom of politics that Naveen Patnaik practices. He practices the politics of elegance, the politics of collaboration and not confrontation, the politics of getting things done, not making things absolutely horrific that there is no meeting ground. Now, Chandrababu Naidu is of the same vein, in the same vein. Now, all these people are coming. Now, you will say Mayawati is attending because of the ED cases. Whatever the reasons are, the reality is the so-called opposition unity doesn't exist. When Rahul Gandhi tweets saying that these are bricks made of ego and not bricks which are constitutionally compliant, but you're not even a member of parliament. So, Begani Shadi mein Abdullah Diwana. So, if you have to
That's
say,
really rubbing salt on his wounds.
but it's a fact. He's not a member of parliament. He wouldn't have been there in the function in any case. My whole thing is, there are moments in a nation's history which belong to the nation. They may be triggered by Narendra Modi or a Kharge or a Rahul or a Sonia, but they are national moments. May 28, 2023 is one such national moment, as was when the GST bill was introduced at the midnight hour. You remember the same people used to say Gabbar Singh tax? Today, GST has sorted out most states' lives. So don't protest without logic.
But GST has also become a sort of a blackmail tool where the center is not giving states, a lot of states their due. I know Captain Aminder's had a problem when he was not aligned with the BJP.
Absolutely. So they should take them to court. You see, here's the thing. When Narendra Modi took office on May 26, 2014, he said, we will believe in federal cooperation and federal collaboration. Never happens. Why did they use double engine Sarkar? To tell people that if the BJP is at the center and if the BJP is at the state, then your state will benefit more because we will make sure that projects are passed on to your state. Now, what happened, to be fair to the Thakres? When the Thakres were ejected out of office, all the projects that were destined for Maharashtra went to Gujarat. Whether it was Vedanta, whoever it was, they all went to Gujarat. The central government does have. So my point is, if you really care about the people of your state, would you care for the people or would you care for petty politics? Which is why I'm saying Naveen Patnaik is an astute person. He knows कि भाई छोटी-छोटी बातों पे पंगा क्यों लो? It was famously said, in order to win the war, it's all right to lose a few battles. What these people do is they get into battle mode every day and end up losing the battle. So the war is at a distant horizon.
Yeah.
But as if you remember and go back to the Mahabharata, when Arjun is riding the chariot and Krishna is behind, and Arjun's concern is that, what am I doing? I'm attacking my own people. And he says, it is dharma, it's your duty. Go back to what Amartya Sen says about that. He says, what kind of God was Krishna? Didn't he know that when Arjun went to war, that there would be death, there would be orphans, there would be widows? What kind of God would condone that? But sometimes duty comes above godliness even. What Narendra Modi has done is he has spun this into duty. He said, ये मेरा कर्म है, ये मैं करूंगा, ये मेरी कर्म भूमि है. When he came into office, you remember when he entered parliament, the first thing he did was he bent down and with his forehead touched the stone
Hmm.
of the threshold of parliament. And he says, I have only one book of religion, and it's called the Constitution of India. So he's making all the right noises. Now, how do you counter that? You counter that by shifting the battleground. And I'm telling you, Priya, if these guys had ever, I mean, not that they asked me for advice ever, but if they had worn a badge which says, where's my
I agree.
badge? It would have queered the pitch because it would have been telecast, it would have been recorded. 50 years later, people would have asked, ye kyo badge dala? The story would have unfolded. Today, you are missing from the picture because what Modi has done is he has established the Freudian norm. If I hate Priya Sahgal or if I like Priya Sahgal, it's fine with Priya Sahgal. But Priya Sahgal can never tolerate, as any human being, indifference. Modi's indifferent to them. He doesn't even acknowledge their existence. When you make people irrelevant by not acknowledging their existence, that's when you hurt them the most. कि भाई मैं जवाब ही नहीं दूंगा आपका, आप जो बोलते जाओ, जो बोलना है. A caravan moves, but does the caravan stop when it hears a dog bark on the streets? No, caravan moves on. Modi today is that political caravan. He will not stop. He's determined. And he's smart enough to spin, as I said, opportunities out of adversity.
Well, I agree with you on that, that the opposition is coming together on negatives rather than a positive narrative, and they are missing a chance. That black band idea, the super idea. So, in fact, I would say visually and in terms of symbolism. But having said that, hasn't at least the opposition, you're seeing more and more of the opposition uniting, whether from Rahul Gandhi's Surat case to even Kejriwal's the ordinance. I believe they are going to raise it in the Rajya Sabha, and Congress will also oppose it. Even though they don't want to be seen on the same side as the AAP on this parliament issue. So there is a sort of opposition unity getting together on the eve of
Of
2024.
course. In fact, I think Karnataka was a wake up call for everyone. It was a everyone says, no, it's a wake up call for BJP. I said, no, it's also a wake up call for opposition. The
How?
wake up call for the opposition is if you want to get things done, you can get them done. They ran a campaign, both Shiv Kumar and Siddaramaiah, in unison. There was no bickering, much like what Gehlot and Sachin Pilot did when they ran that campaign in Rajasthan. It's another matter where that relationship is gone. But the point is, when you run a campaign in unison, when you focus on development, when you focus sadly on reveries or freebies, you get elected. But I've always said that never measure a national election qua a state election. Because in a state election, what often happens, and we have seen this with BJP in 2019 in Bengal, they were unable to match up to Mamta, not because of electoral might, but because they didn't have leadership on the ground, which was either effective or trusted. Today, the only face of BJP that exists in Karnataka is Yedurappa, who had to leave for age reasons ostensibly. Bommai was just not cut out to be that leader. And if you read Jaggi's article, Jagannath's article in Swaraj yesterday, it says it. BJP's wake up call is that they have to enthuse three people, three segments: the Karyakartas, their own government people in order to follow the laws of governance, and the third is people who are willing or wanting to jump ship and join the party. The BJP for too long has been India's largest political washing machine. It cannot happen anymore because people are going to turn around and say, how come this guy joins the party and he's suddenly squeaky clean? So the BJP's moral high ground is eroding with every passing day. How do you check that? So I think the challenges for Narendra Modi will be, and the biggest issue here, Priya, is there is no line of succession. And I'm not saying that no prime minister, identifies his successor. Even Vajpayee did. But you can't have Narendra Modi as the only person who goes out at every election hoping that he will turn the tide. It cannot happen. You say he's a megalomaniac, but then you've made him into a larger than life figure. And by the way, he has been the most popular prime minister statistically since independent India. He's even more popular than Nehru ever was during his tenure, which, by the way, is saying a lot.
Nehru didn't have social media, perhaps. Suhail.
Whatever, but I'm just saying, from in a mark-to-market statistical interface basis, Modi has been more popular than even Pandit Nehru was. Of Pandit Nehru, if you remember Pyasa Gurudat's, Sahir Ludhianvi had written, Ye kooche, ye galiyan, kahan hai ye log. So now come back to the fact that the same Sahir Ludhianvi lyrics and songs were banned from All India Radio. So I'm saying what Modi is doing is the same playbook. He's smarter, it's Web 3.0, and he's doing it with greater crudity and less finesse. You think the UPA wasn't autocratic? Of course they were. But
Yes.
they did it with a lot of grace. Wo log na, they were Sun Tzu's followers. They borrowed the knife to kill their enemy. Here, Modi is willing to wipe you out electorally, as he should. I've said on your program, it's not Narendra Modi's daily business to go to Khan Market looking for an opposition. I mean, that's not his business. No matter how altruistic he might want to be.
Fair enough on that note. I'm going to take a break and continue the conversation about, well, we've already talked a bit about it, but the Modi government is also completing 9 years this week. We've seen a lot of celebrations, a lot of programs, and a lot of look ahead. So we're going to have a discussion on that also after a quick break. Hello and welcome back to a cover story conversation with Suhel Seth. Suhel, Modi government now finishes 9 years and everybody is expecting him to come back for 5 more, in elections are next. First of all, do you think there is any slightest chance that he may lose the next election?
No. So here's my prediction. We are on May 26, 2023. You can hold me to that. We're literally on the 9th year of them being in office today, as we speak. Narendra Modi will be India's next prime minister. The question that begs to be answered is, will Narendra Modi lead the country and parliament with as much of a majority as he has had in previous terms? That is where the jury is still out. So here's my scenario building.
Let's see.
No question that Narendra Modi will be India's prime minister. The problem with Modi, and rightly so, is when Modi won term 1 and won term 2, the base of the BJP itself was so gigantic that they did away with a lot of their old standing allies. Bad move, to my mind. But they also believe that in a lot of the cases, the allies were actually depleting rather than adding value. Shiromani Akali Dal, for instance, there were innumerable instances of corruption, blah, 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 all of that happened. The problem will be, in order for a successful government, you have to have the sagacity, the wisdom, and the fortitude of an Atal Bihari Vajpayee. You cannot have a very muscular leader trying to run a coalition. If you go back into history of India, the people who ran great coalitions were people who were silent workers. Narasimha Rao, Dr. Manmohan Singh, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Wherever there were muscular people trying to run a coalition, the coalition collapsed. So, number one, will Modi move from muscle to compassion? I doubt. Number two, will he be able to swing the allies in order to support him? I'm sure he will. Because power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. A lot of these guys will jump ship for power. Third is, how will he run that coalition? Because Modi, as a human being, is not susceptible to blackmail. He's not someone you can threaten. He's a confident leader because he's a grassroots person. He has not had this office bestowed on him like Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh had. He has earned the office. When a guy earns his office, he has more conviction, more courage, and more fortitude than you can imagine. So to expect Modi to become elasticized or to become amiable or malleable is expecting too much. So that's the problem. My worry is, if these parties come together, as you have also rightly alluded to, and in the states are able to send more representatives to the Lok Sabha, then the majority that Modi has today will reduce. If that majority reduces, it'll be a sign of weakness. Number two, now look at the optics. Over the years, Modi has built two things: a great image for himself, and, to give him credit, a great image for brand India. When people are abroad, they always say, oh, you've got a great prime minister, he's all there, blah, blah, blah. Even if he drops 3 seats in his tally from the last time, they'll say, Dekho, people have begun to talk.
Mm.
I mean, that's how they win. If you remember, when the Bengal election results came, the BJP's only saving grace statement was, but we have increased our vote share and seats. What matters is who's in office, not who is number two. You know, it's the old NASA story of Apollo.
The second
You
man on the
remember
moon.
Armstrong. You don't remember Aldrin. I mean, you do, but not with the same, efficacy. So that's issue one. The second issue is, to my mind, how will the BJP create a line of succession? Because that line of succession needs to be identified. Today, if you look around, you've got Amit Shah and you've got Yogi Adityanath, you've got Fadnavis, you've got Hemanta Biswa Sarma, who, by the way, are all powerful people doing well in their own roles. How will you pitchfork someone to a Modi role? Because Modi's boots have really become very, very big for anyone to fill. That's the reality. Now, coming to your question about 9 years. I've always said, Priya, including on your shows, the singular lack in this government is their inability to communicate the good that they have done, because it gets surrounded by the evil. Again, very Shakespearean. The good is oft interred with the bones, the evil lives long after. What are they remembered for? Hindu, Muslim, ye comment, wo comment, beef ban, ye ban, wo ban. If I was Modi, if I was the government, I would run an ad. I should have run an ad today. We should have said, 9 years ago, 9 years ago, Aarti never went to school. Today she goes to a school because there are toilets. 9 years of Kamlesh accepting digital payments for tender coconut water. 9 years of Muhammad, humanize. What the goddamn governments do is they put out statistics. I should say 9 years of Rama cooking at home, digesting food and not fumes. I mean, I'm making up speak.
Got it.
This should have been the tenor of the advertising. Then you would have been able to relate to people. अगर आप बोल रहे 9 years में हम लोग 87 megawatt power, doesn't mean anything.
Humanize the story.
9 years of not having to study under a lamppost, but under a lamp for Akhil. These are the things. But we have become so babuized in our country since independence, not to blame Modi, that we won't do this. So the 9 years pitch, and here's the tragedy again for the opposition. Today is 9 years of completion, so all the channels will go nuts. And then May 28 is this. He would have drowned them out totally. Half the guys who are protesting live across the country. वो वैसे दिल्ली नहीं आ रहे. So they won't even be available or be seen.
But actually, that is the whole problem with the opposition. It doesn't have its own narrative. As you rightly said in the beginning, they need a positive narrative. The narrative cannot just be what is wrong with Modi. Like you said, 9 years of Kamlesh studying under with light in our own house. But how did the light reach our own house? The foundation stones was led by the last 70 years of work, and not
if
just
I were the opposition, I would have
the
said,
foundation.
If I were the opposition, I would have done a counter ad.
Yes, not
the next day, we should have said 9 years of not just disagreeing, but being disagreeable. 9 years of dissent over development. 9 years of parochialism over a fraternity. I have done that. And obviously translated into every language. What I'm making, they don't do it. They don't think. But you have to counter something with something which is not counterproductive, but it is counter-narrative.
Yeah, that's true. How do you see Kharge shaping up, Suhel? We're totally now we're in the last few minutes. As
outstanding man, great human being, a superb success story. But remember one thing, and I don't blame the Gandhis. Everyone says, oh, but the Gandhi. Fitrat unki wo hai. They are the owners of a company called the Indian National Congress.
हाँ.
मालिक वो है, चलाता खरगे है. पर जब आपको तनख्वाह ज्यादा चाहिए ना, आप मालिक के पास जाते हो, आप मैनेजर के पास कभी नहीं जाते. अगर आपको अपनी बेटी की शादी के लिए पैसे चाहिए, आप मालिक के पास जाते हो, आप मैनेजर के पास नहीं जाते. Kharge sadly is the manager of the Indian National Congress, but the owners are the Gandhis. Now you tell me, push comes to shove, who will you go to? The owner. Tell me again, push comes to shove, who will be more invested in that? The owner. Number 3, who can be changed? Only the manager, never the Malik. तो ये मालिक और मैनेजर की बहस है. This is that old कहावत कि राजा और रंक. रंक ये नहीं तय करता कि कब वो राजा से मिले, राजा तय करता है कि वो कब रंक से मिले. So today we are seeing the Raja and Rank story play out even in the Indian National Congress, and I don't blame them for that. That's the way it is. You think the BJP is any less autocratic? BJP is smart enough not to use a phrase called high command, पर बाकी सब तो वो लोग एक ही थाली के चट्टे बट्टे हैं.
Bilkul, what we are seeing is the congressization of the BJP, really.
I'm telling you, he's a version 3.0 of Indira Gandhi.
Absolutely.
But I will tell you one thing today, as we end. Like I said of Dr. Manmohan Singh at Dulat's book launch, Dr. Singh will be remembered in India as one of India's finest, most decent prime ministers. Let me tell you what Narendra Modi's remembrance will be. As the man who changed India's destiny for the better and who made Indians believe in themselves. That's what he has done. You know me, I'm not BJP or Congress, but let me tell you, he will be remembered for that. He has brought back dignity. I'll tell you, Priya, and I will end by this. I'm a marketing person. I see consumer behavior. I see changes in consumer appetite, aptitude, all of that. What he has done with digitization is not about payment ease. It's about giving people the same level of dignity, respect, and regard. Today, Priya, it doesn't matter आप कौन सी करेंसी का पैसा निकाल रहे हो, आप फोन से पेमेंट करते हो और आपका पेमेंट हो जाता है. When you give dignity to your citizens, it's the biggest gift. When you layer dignity with direct benefit transfer, it's an even bigger gift. That's why Modi will be remembered.
But again, Suhel, I agree with you with all that, but it could have been done A, in a less painless manner without making us all stand in queues during demonetization. B, the foundation for digital India was laid by Rajiv Gandhi. I mean, the Congress just misses the boat on every narrative.
My dear, do you remember the scientist who created the Apollo 11 mission? You don't. Simple बात है. गडकरी ने थोड़ी रास्ते बनाए हैं, पर क्रेडिट उसको जाएगा. Vajpayee quadrilateral was named after Vajpayee. It's not that Vajpayee went and laid every brick on every highway. Remember one thing, people who will be known as individuals. There are no statues of committees in any parks. You're right. It could have been less painful, but that's where we suffer. We are a country mostly where operation successful, patient dead, because we are so passionate that we do not follow process.
On that note, and also, Suhel, as I end, a footnote for 28th May is also that is all your birthday. So I'll wish you a happy birthday from all of us.
Thank you. I turned 60. I have 15 years to go into Amrit Kal.
Achha. So 15 years more of conversation, and more than 15 actually with you. But thank you for this, Suhel. Thank you for this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.